Welcome into another edition of the No Pulp podcast. Nick Zelaya here with Spencer Pierce and Steven Sklar. Good morning, guys. It's great to be on the pod today. How we doing?
Great morning. Nothing beats staying up till 2 a.m. to watch the team that you bet on push. That really is the
Well, you really
best
only
start
have
to my
yourself to blame on that.
That's
one.
true. That's
so.
true.
I mean,
We're going to get into the Pac-12 a little bit. We'll talk plenty of college hoops, but I do have a question for you guys that I brought up a bit earlier. So I was talking to my younger brother, and sixth grade, mind you. So like 12 years old, class of 2028.
Oh, no.
His 5'9" teammate got in a fight with a 5'11" kid yesterday.
5'11" sixth graders?
5'11" sixth graders.
Jesus.
How do you feel about sixth graders fighting each other on the court?
Well, sometimes it's in the heat of battle, so you can't really tell them what to do if they're going to get aggressive. If it's going to be the heat of the moment kind of thing, then just let them go at it. Let them duke it out.
I'm more intrigued by a 5'11" sixth grader, even a 5'9" sixth grader. Nick, how tall are you?
I don't need to disclose that information.
not that tall.
I don't need to give that information out.
So they're different breeds now.
Mind you, this is in Wallingford, Connecticut, too, so it's
Shout
some
out
different
Wally
stuff.
World.
Well,
Wow.
let's get into the college hoops now, where 5'11" is on the shorter side. And starting off with UConn and Villanova. UConn upsetting Villanova 71-69. Some controversial calls at the end of the game. What did you guys make exactly of how this came out? Did UConn win this game, or did Villanova choke when it mattered and lost once again to the Huskies?
I'm going to say that Villanova lost this game, and you look at the last 3 minutes of the game where they blew two separate 4-point leads. And 4 points, it's really not that much, but in a close game like that, especially a division game like that, you need to kind of pull that out. And you mentioned it, you alluded to it, the charge call at the end. I don't know what you thought, but I was watching. I didn't think it was a charge.
I thought he slid in front.
He slid, and then they showed the angle from the back, and it looked fine. And so I don't know. I don't care.
But you're going to get those calls, especially as the home team.
Right, exactly.
I just remember saying to myself when I was watching the game that when Caleb Daniels went up to the line with 35 seconds left, I was like, he's got to make this free throw or else this game's going to go in a bad, it's going to go in the wrong direction for Villanova. And that's what happened. UConn walks away with the signature win. They absolutely won the game because Villanova is still one of those veteran-led squads, and these are sort of those games that they do their best in. So if you can come out on top, even if it's at home, over Villanova, right, that's going to be a quality win, your signature win defining your season.
I personally felt to that. Excuse my throat. I need to drink a little more of this water. I was surprised that Gillespie was called for the charge because a lot of these cases you see more obviously in the professional league, but even in college, sometimes these superstar players, they get the type of calls late in the game when they need it. And in all honesty, I thought this should have just been a no call. I didn't think there was too much I didn't think there was that much contact watching a couple different replays. I thought maybe just let it play. He kind of, when he went up for it, he kind of lost control of the ball.
He did
I felt
one of
like
those.
he just threw it up to try to get the free throws.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, he threw it up before he even really made contact with the UConn defender.
Somebody had to get called.
He got out of bounds in UConn ball.
He got trucked.
I'm with Steven.
He got knocked.
I didn't see that much contact.
Anytime there's a body-on-body contact and someone goes like that on the ground, there has to be something.
There was little contact, though, I felt like.
This is one of those rare times where I'll say to you, I don't think that anybody sold anything too much. He got steamrolled. He fell right to the ground. That was a hard fall. There had to be a call there.
All right. Okay. We can disagree on this. Can we agree at least that Dan Hurley shouldn't have got tossed from the game?
Yes.
For hyping up the crowd?
Well,
Yes.
I think that was planted. I think he did that on purpose. Because that I think he does. No, coaches do that on purpose sometimes, where they want to add a little bit of extra juice to the stadium and get the crowd into it. At the XL Center, the crowd was the best that it's been in years, and that's because of Dan Hurley's ejection. So I think he wanted to light that spark under his team.
And do we think Dan Hurley maybe went into the student section and partied with the kids after the game?
With James Buchanan?
With James Buchanan,
He probably planted there probably last time.
He probably did it Bobby Valentine style also with the fake mustache.
Wait, because he's bald.
Yeah, so big win for UConn, absolutely. There was also some other action last night in the Pac-12. Plenty of teams playing. Arizona, there was UCLA, plenty of different teams in action. You unfortunately had on the losing end for UCLA and Oregon. But looking at the Pac-12, this is an interesting conference because it's in basketball sort of looked at as the least of the Power 5 schools. But over the last couple of seasons, we've seen some good teams. We saw Oregon State last year make it all the way to the Elite Eight, and somehow they're 3-23 this season. How many teams do we really think can make the tournament in a Pac-12 setting?
Well, let's stop disrespecting Bill Walton's conference. Conference of Champions. We did this. We did this last year too, and the Pac-12 wound up having a decent tournament run. But there's only 4. It's Arizona, it's UCLA, it's USC, it's Oregon. Those are the top 4 teams in the preseason poll. They've pulled their weight thus far in the season, and these are the 4 teams that you really expect to be there at the end of the tournament, at the end of the conference tournament. But of course, anything can happen. So it's not set in stone just yet, but those are the 4 front runners.
I'm going to take those 4, and I'm going to add a tentative one in Colorado. I mean, when you play in a conference like the Pac-12, those games start at 11 o'clock our time, and every single game that they play is absolutely crazy. So if Colorado can have a really strong end to the season, kind of bring that into the Pac-12 tournament, I would be impressed. And also, like you said, let's not forget about what the Pac-12 did last year. I mean, Bill Walton had 5 teams in his Final 4, for Christ's sake, and they were all Pac-12 teams, and they just about all got there anyway.
He's got 8 Pac-12 teams going into the games this year.
That guy doesn't even know what's happening. I don't think he knows which foot his shoe's supposed to go on. The guy, he just talks.
It makes it really easy if Colorado goes out and they beat Arizona tomorrow.
Right.
And then you can sort of lock them into that spot.
They're one of those signature wins away.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I love the fact that during the Oregon-UCLA game yesterday, where Bill Walton was on the call, coming out one of the commercial breaks, they showed probably 10 different mountains in the area, and Bill was just going nuts about them, about how he's hiked on all these mountains, and they've been the greatest adventures of his life when he's visited them. They've been awesome. I do think Colorado can sneak in there potentially on the bubble. The top 4 teams, though, to me, absolutely are Arizona, USC, UCLA, and Oregon.
And it's been that way all season.
It really has. Oregon's the only team that's really had its up and downs. UCLA's had a couple bad losses here and there, but they've been themselves for most of this season. Oregon, Quincy Guerrier, he's been really stepping up for them, a guy we're all very familiar with.
Let's go into Oregon a little bit, because there were so many preseason expectations for this team, and I think they started out really poorly in the non-conference part of their schedule.
Yeah.
But with all the transfers that they had, I mean, Quincy Guerrier, Devian Harmon, Jacob Young, all these guys coming over, these pieces needed time to get comfortable in their new setting. And ever since conference play has started, they've been one of the best teams in the conference, one of the best teams in the country even. And all of those transfers, too, that came over have stepped up in the second half of the season.
And not to mention Dana Altman has been there, done that, been around the block. I mean, you name it. That guy is probably the most underrated coach in all of the country.
He's got some of the experience. He picked up his 700th career win earlier this year. I believe it was against UCLA, actually, the first time these 2 teams met.
UCLA's got to figure out a way to beat Oregon.
Yeah,
by the way,
really.
Honestly,
they don't have the script right now, and they need to find it fast.
They're not looking like the Final 4 team that they were last year. Nowhere close to it. We've got a special matchup here in the 3-1-5. Coach K versus Boeheim for the final time. And that begs the question, your top 5 coaches of all time. Steven, I want to start with you on this one. What is your list for the top 5 college basketball coaches ever?
So are we doing this 5-1 or 1-5?
Go 5-1. Go to 5-1.
So we'll go 5-1. All right, so let's start out Pat Summitt, talking about an elite list. So Pat Summitt has to be on it no matter what you say. 5-time Naismith College Coach of the Year, 8 national titles, more Final 4 trips than John Wooden. So the resume is pretty stacked there. And then next I'm going to go 2-time national champion Dean Smith. Created a culture emphasizing hard work. I mean, a lot of people compare his system to what John Wooden's was. I mean, 2 different eras, so it's a little bit hard to do that. But Dean Smith was one of the toughest coaches out there, and a little underrated stat for you, 26-14 versus Coach K. Roy Williams.
That'll do the job.
Roy Williams had nowhere close to that kind of record versus
good.
Coach K. And Coach K, number 3, 5-time national champion, as decorated as any college coach has ever been. And I feel like when everybody in the country kind of collectively has that exhale, when Coach K announced that he was retiring,
You're right.
Everybody's got this sense of utter joy that he's going to be leaving the game. He's a villain, and when you're a villain like that, you know you did something right. So, top 3. One place I do think he's performed poorly, though, is the supporting student journalist category. And
I can agree with that.
That's a pretty bad blemish on his record. He doesn't care about the kids. He doesn't care about the kids. So I'm actually going to vacate him from my number 3 spot and replace him with Jim Boeheim. Jim Boeheim's going to take over the number 3 spot. Number 2, Gino over at UConn. If you strip the names away from every coach on this list and just look at the resumes blindly, Gino has he has a case for the top spot, which I'm going to spoil it now, is going to John Wooden. It really can't go to anybody else. Okay, right. But if you strip the name away from the resume, Gino really looks like a guy that should be first on the list. He was the fastest NCAA coach to 600, 700, 800, 900, and even 1,000 wins. So that's pretty good.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean, nobody else is doing that. So Gino won. John Wooden, he built the UCLA program from the top to the bottom. He's been everything for that city and everything for that program, so I don't even think that
So John Wooden, Gino Ariema, Coach K, Dean Smith, Pat Summitt for you, Steven.
That's
Spencer.
my top 5.
Spencer, what we got for the top 5?
I mean, listen, I have that list. It's just a little bit remixed.
Okay.
So at 5, I'm putting Gino. Great guy. I mean, you ran through all the stats, but at 4, I have Pat Summitt. Just kind of growing up in Connecticut, nonetheless, and watching all those UConn teams, there was something to be said about little Spencer Pierce watching ESPN and learning about Pat Summitt and the Tennessee Lady Vols.
Absolutely.
She just, not even so much her statistics, but the impact that she had on the game of women's basketball is just incredible. You could talk about the stats all you want. Incredible coach. At 3, I have Dean Smith. I mean, I can't even explain because you took all my stats and everything.
I did take a little bit too much.
That's okay. It's okay.
That's all right. Educate the children,
Yeah,
Steven.
of course.
Maybe some recency bias at number 2 with Coach K. It's similar to Pat Summitt. Maybe not as nice, but Coach K, like you were saying, if the ding dong the witch is dead moment happens to you, that means you did something right. And it's funny too that everyone is like, oh, the ACC door's open now. We can beat Duke next year.
I can't even think of a coach that's been more villainized than he has in any sport. Maybe
Exactly.
Belichick, but
Yeah,
Coach K's
definitely
Coach
Belichick,
K's
I
up
think.
there with Belichick.
Yeah, Nick Saban maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's close with Nick
but it's
Saban.
rarefied air is the point. that I'm
Right.
trying to
Yeah,
make.
you're
exactly.
doing your job correctly. And then at number 1, John Wooden. I mean, the criteria for being on the list has to be if your name is on an award, you should probably be on some sort of legends list. So not much parity there, but just a little bit of a remix.
Absolutely.
So let's take another look at Spencer's top 5. Very similar, Steven. John Wooden, Coach K, Dean Smith, Pat Summitt, Gino Ariema. Pretty good list, boys.
Thanks.
Is
So-
your list better though?
Mine, I mean, I have a couple of different changes.
Okay.
So
There's one in specific that I'm waiting to hear.
can I hear it first before I go?
I'm gonna wait for you to go.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna go 1 through 5 because there's some stuff going down on the bottom.
Okay.
So number 1, John Wooden. I mean, the guy coached Lou Alcindor for crying
Yeah.
out loud, turned into Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. If you didn't know out there, little Spencers out there in the world.
What do you
John
mean?
Wooden. I'm just saying we're trying to educate the little Spencers. You talk about Pat Summitt changing your life. There could be some other little Spencers
All right,
out
you're
there
right, you're right.
learning to educate from the No Pulp podcast. I just want to
Absolutely.
teach them. Lou
Absolutely.
Alcindor turned into Kareem
My fault.
Abdul-Jabbar.
That's on me.
John Wooden, number 1. Mike Krzyzewski, number 2. I mean, got to be one of the best coaches. Number 3, Bob Knight.
Yeah,
from
that's the one.
Indiana.
That's the one I was waiting for.
I mean, he threw a chair.
couldn't say
Spell
Coach
it now.
K. Yeah.
Spell it.
He threw a chair.
Yeah, spell
Yeah?
Krzyzewski. Spell Krzyzewski.
K-R-Z-Y-Z-E-W-S-K-I.
Now we both have to look. Huh?
That was impressive. Okay.
S instead of a Z?
No. Is it an S instead of a Z?
I tried.
I
Who
thought
knows?
that was pretty good.
I tried my best.
Okay.
my best.
It was okay.
There's some Z's in there. Gino Ariema, 4.
Okay.
UConn, like you mentioned, Spencer, being from Connecticut,
Yeah,
you go
big
to
deal.
a lot of UConn games as a kid, and Gino Ariema, he's been around there
Never
for a
been to
while.
UConn game.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
I'd love to go to one.
It's fun. It's fun.
love
I
to
went to
go
a
to one.
double overtime UConn Georgetown game once. It was intense.
Wow.
It was a really fun game. Number 5, Mark Few. And we're going to move on
What?
from here. Mark Few. Yep.
No. Explain yourself.
Gonzaga plays in the West Coast Conference.
The worst.
Gonzaga has turned around into a national top-tier program. Yes, I know, they haven't won a championship. They've been in the championship a couple times.
Win a few at least.
They haven't won yet.
How?
Win some, and then
They
you can be on the
win
list.
constantly in the regular season. There needs to be
Over
summer.
John Calipari.
John Calipari doesn't know how to coach a sophomore, junior, or senior.
Over Dean Smith.
I maybe have a little bit of bias towards North Carolina.
Did you put Pat Summitt on your list? What? Did you put Pat Summitt on your list?
She would be right there. She would be right.
Oh,
there.
she would be right there, but she wouldn't be over
put
the guy that's
Mark
never won a national
Few on his
championship.
I mean, Mark, I think there needs to give some
Get it
respect. There needs to be a
together.
little change because we're going to have very similar lists. I need to throw a wild card out there, and it's Mark Few. The guy wins 30 games every single year.
The fact that you would even
Bill
put
Self
him,
wins 30 games a year, and he's won a
Bill Self
championship.
had lunch with my dad, and he told me my dad said no.
you put him next to Gino Auriemma, who has 6 perfect seasons
That's correct.
and 11
why
national
Gino was ahead of Mark
championships.
Few.
But why are they 4 and
Mark
5?
Few.
You can't put Gino Auriemma.
I told you, I needed
at
a wild
4.
card. I just needed a wild card.
That's not
Mark
a
Few.
wild
That's the
card.
Mark
that is
Few.
the that's
Mark
the,
Few has
no,
shown
that's
that he
not
can
the
win.
wild card. That's the card that fell out of the bottom of the deck and it's on the floor. And
Mark
he picked
Few
it up
has
and said,
shown
"Look at this."
that he can win in the regular season and then produce it in the postseason. They at least win games in the postseason. At least they don't choke like some one seeds
That's it.
do.
That's the bare minimum
Plenty of
criteria
NBA
to be in the
potential,
top
too.
5. They win
Plenty
games.
of NBA potential.
They win games. You know,
Gonzaga
every
has
single
produced-
coach that we named wins games.
Gonzaga has produced plenty of NBA talent over the last 5-10 years.
Nigel Williams
Domantas Sabonis.
Nigel Williams
Rui
got
That's an
more
all-star
tearing
player.
up the NBA
Rui
right now.
Hachimura, if he was healthy, he would be better on the Wizards. We're moving on from this. We get the idea. John Wooden's the greatest coach of all time.
Oh,
Agree?
man. Yes.
John Wooden?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
At this point, I don't even know what you're going to say.
Anyways, there's the men's basketball. There's also plenty of women's basketball happening in the world right now. As we get a couple weeks closer to March Madness, one player in specific has been taking over the country, and that's Caitlin Clark. And her Iowa Hawkeyes defeated Indiana once again, 88-82 the other night. Clark and Monica Cignano combined for 60 points in the win. Iowa, they were down double digits going into halftime. They came back and won. Caitlin Clark is now averaging near a frickin' triple-double. 27 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. Is she the best player in college basketball?
She's got 6 of those on the season, by the way. 6
That's
triple-doubles on the
ridiculous.
season.
That's
That's
ridiculous.
an insane figure.
Did you just ask what I think you just asked?
Is she the best player in college basketball?
Yeah. Is that what you asked?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any? Do we even need to debate on this?
No, I think
is
we
it
should.
close?
I think we should.
Do you have a different answer other than yes?
What are you gonna? Okay, no. Okay, I thought you were gonna say no.
Oh no, absolutely.
Caitlin Clark
She's
is
the best player.
Far and away the best player in college
Even,
basketball.
I mean, obviously it doesn't hurt that most likely second best player, Paige Beckers, has been hurt the majority of the season, but I don't know if this is a hot take at this point. I think even if Beckers played the entire season, Caitlin Clark's still the best player.
That's absolutely debatable.
I think she's going to go number 1 in the draft. I think she'll win Player of the Year this year. I don't understand really where this. I mean, obviously I know where the question's coming from. Shout out Liam Griffin. But I really don't see how there's any competition at all this year. Anytime anyone's averaging a triple-double in college basketball, women's, men's, aliens college basketball, who cares? Anytime you're averaging a triple-double, you deserve to be Player of the Year.
So when we're talking about best players in college basketball, men's and women's, how many of them, how many in the top 5 come from the Big Ten? Come from the Big Ten. So you have Caitlin Clark, you have Johnny Davis, Kofi Coburn, you have
good amount.
Zach Edey, they're all coming from that conference. Every single one of them has come from that conference, except maybe Paolo Banchero.
It's a basketball
Chet.
hot spot
That
for
conference
sure.
is stacked. Yeah, Chet too.
Well, you know, we would want to leave Gonzaga out of the show.
Well,
Sure,
I mean,
Chet Holmgren is
you have to give a lot
You
of
know
credit
why?
to
Mark Few
You have to
produced
give a
him.
lot of-
Well,
a lot of credit
Chet
to
shoots the ball well, so I would actually put him in the top 5 college basketball players ever.
ever.
By Nick's criteria,
And he's played really well in the regular season
right,
too.
against teams like Pepperdine.
Exactly. Yep.
Don't. Hey, San Francisco too. Don't hate on the Dons.
Yeah,
all right?
the Dons.
All right.
The Dons.
Another conference that is pretty good is the SEC, and Florida. They've been a little iffy as of lately. Very inconsistent on the season. They lost to a sub 500 Vanderbilt team, 63-59. Where exactly do we look at the SEC when it comes to the women's basketball? Obviously, South Carolina is dominant. They're the #1 team in the country.
Yeah.
But aside from South Carolina, who can we look at as maybe a couple teams that could make potentially a deep run into the tournament.
You really have to reassess whatever you were thinking about Florida women's basketball. Like, if this is a team that you had going really far in the tournament, then you got to I'm not sure a lot of people have filled out their brackets, but if you thought they were, then you really need to reassess some things, because this isn't just a scare for Florida women's basketball. This is a major doo-doo-doo. Like, like, this is a major
Major doo-doo-doo.
It's hard to come back from that. It's hard to come back from losing to a sub-500 team in that fashion this late in the season when you're really supposed to be tightening things up. So I'm not really sure where you go in that conference after South Carolina, because it's pretty open from there.
All right, well, I think I know where you go in that conference. I don't think you give any stock into that loss. Obviously, it's jarring to look at on the schedule, but women's bracketology is projecting 9 SEC teams in March Madness. So in a conference where you're eating each other alive basically every game, obviously it hurts to lose to the bottom feeder, but when you have 8 other teams in your conference making the tournament, it really kind of boosts your level of play. And obviously, Vanderbilt's 13-16. They're not like horrible.
Yeah, but you're also just waiting to run into a buzzsaw, no?
That's
if you're
fine.
Florida and you can't even hold your own weight against Vanderbilt, just wait till the other teams in the conference come
Things
around.
happen.
Yeah, things do happen. Things happen like Florida loses to one of the teams that's ahead of them in the conference, because they're just not as good of a team. It's as simple as that.
That's okay.
I think no doubt South Carolina, they'll be in the tournament. They'll probably make it to the Final Four.
The number one team in the. They could lose by 80 the next 5 games. They would be in the
A
tournament.
couple other teams that stand out to me are LSU. They've been really hot. They've won 8 straight. And Tennessee, they're in it every single year. Talking about the ACC a bit, Florida State, they pulled off the upset over number 22 Georgia Tech, 65-63 in overtime. This Georgia Tech team, they are another one similar to Florida that's really been inconsistent. An ACC team that, according to the women's bracketology, 9 teams from the ACC are projected to make the tournament. So what can we make of the Atlantic Coast Conference, and how many teams should probably get in the tournament from this year?
Well, I kind of want to zero in on Georgia Tech a little bit. Their worst loss of the year was 12 points, and they've lost 3 of the 8 games that they lost all year by 2 points or less. So it's not like they're getting outclassed. It's not like they're getting completely mismatched. They're having a good season, and I think that they're going to get into the tournament because they don't have, an outstanding, horrible loss. 12 points is really, it's not terrible. And like I was making the point about Florida, you're playing in a conference where 8 other teams are making the tournament, so obviously you're going to drop a few games, and it's the biggest deal.
I don't know if it's about making a huge deal over the loss to Florida State so much as it is making a big deal about their consistency over this recent stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, last 6 games, lost 5 out of 6. That's 1 loss to NC
3
State.
in a row, yeah.
That's 1 loss to Notre Dame, 2 ranked teams. So, this is the part of their season where it's sort of dog eat dog. The top teams in the country are going to eat away at each other, and you either survive or you don't survive. It's really it's a dog eat dog world, and you really just have to pull your weight at this point in the season. And if you can't do that, then we're going to judge you for it.
The Yellow Jackets season is really interesting to me because if you look at their schedule, first thing, you see a giant green W next to UConn. So you think, wow, that's a huge win. But that was the first game Paige Beckers didn't play, and UConn scored 44 points. They didn't know where to go on offense, because when you take Paige Beckers out of your system, changes up so much. And 100%. The ACC is interesting because there are 6 teams with 10-plus conference wins. This is a very competitive conference, which is a big reason why they have teams already in the bracket and about 3 or 4 on the bubble right now. They've got 6 ranked teams out in the top 25. So the ACC is really interesting. I think between them and the SEC, definitely a battle for the top 2 conferences in the country. But I mean, again, it'll all go down to what matters most, and that's making the Final Four. And we'll see which conference can potentially have the most teams in the Final Four. But speaking of the bubble, we've got a little game to play.
Oh, do we?
We do.
We should.
Our lovely producers are going to throw up on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the screen yourself. But if you're listening to Spotify or Apple Music, base my word, I guess.
Just play along.
Just hear me out here. And he's going to throw a graphic up with a couple stats about a team and their record, strength of schedule, Ken Pom, all that fun stuff. And we're going to decide, hey, does this team deserve to make the NCAA tournament, or are they bums and they're not making it?
Man.
They're not making the tournament. They're falling out of the bubble. So Let's get the first graphic up there. Let's take a look. Women's blind resume team number 1. A 20-5 record, the 39th net ranking team, and 3-2 in quad 1 play. What do we think, boys? Is this a tournament team or not?
Resume-wise, 100%. 20-5 39 NET. I mean, that's top 40.
I would agree.
I think this
is absolutely. This absolutely has to be. Can we see which team this is? Can we see what team this is? Missouri State.
Wow.
Interesting.
Missouri State. You know,
they're in a tournament spot right now.
Yeah.
You know, they're projected to be one of the last 4 buys, so they should lock up a tournament spot pretty soon, and the resume backs it up.
And I think with this, they would obviously probably need to get to the championship of their conference tournament, Missouri Valley Conference, because when you're playing in a very small conference, you need to at least make the championship, either win it or you had a really good regular season so you can maybe suffer a loss in the championship, potentially the semifinals.
Right. You want to see how that 9th best scoring defense is going to hold up against some of the Power 5 teams, because they're considered a little bit more major than Missouri State is.
Exactly. Well, congrats to Missouri State. We all 3 of us have them making the tournament.
Are we gonna let every team in?
What?
You gotta.
What's the second graphic? Let's see the second graphic. 16-11 record. 58 in the net rankings, 3-9 in quad 1 basketball games.
Yuck, they can't win a big game.
That's pretty trash.
First of all, this leads me to believe that it's definitely a Power 5 team with 12 quad 1 games.
Probably a Big Ten team.
I would assume so. If I had to pinpoint it, looking at some of the bubble teams, maybe Northwestern. Can I see it?
Your English teacher would like these context clues you're using.
Can I see it?
Can we see what this team? I think Miami. Wow. So you're right about the Power 5 school. You're right about Power 5 school, Miami.
3-9 is not going to get the job done.
It's not.
Definitely
But
not.
they're one of those middle of the pack ACC teams. There's a ton of them.
Yeah, I mean, this team is cannibalizing itself.
How much stock are we putting into the conferences though? Because if you're 16,
not a lot.
I feel like there's almost too much. 16-11 in a good conference, you know, that's fine, but look at a team like Missouri State, they're 20-5.
You also have 12 quad 1 opportunities. You need to go better than 3 and 9.
That's horrible.
I mean, that's your resume right there. You were battle tested, and you proved to us that you weren't able to fight through the battle.
Miami's 9-8 in conference play, along with
even that's not. Yeah,
along with 3 other ACC teams.
Wins. Yeah, so
I agree. That's
we'll see which one comes out on top in the conference tournament.
Probably exactly.
That's what's going to decide it.
The conference
right
tournaments
now,
help so much.
That resume is not good enough.
No, I agree. Let's get number 3 up there. Who's number 3? 22-4, but 52 in the net rankings, 1-0 in quad 1 games.
Team that's going to need to win its conference championship. That's what it sounds like.
I think this is another non-Power 5 school, I think.
I think so, too.
agree.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Do we want to guess this? Do we want to guess before we go? Do we want a quick guess? I'm going to go with DePaul.
I'm going to go with Tulane.
I'm going to go with DePaul.
No.
Yes, they make the tournament. I think that's good
yes, they make.
I say yes.
Yeah, they probably win their conference championship.
Yes.
They seem like a decent team.
Don't beat DePaul.
Can we see it?
Rhode Island.
Wow.
Rhode Island. There we
Interesting.
You know, in 3rd grade when we were learning the states, my friend Chris Dunn said Radish Land. So I instinctively read Radish Land every time I hear Rhode Island.
Rhode Island's currently in the first 4 out when it comes to the tournament.
That's tough.
Even with a 22-4 record, and they haven't lost technically in a quad 1 game.
So Rhode Island is in worse position to make the tournament than Miami is.
That's correct.
Who has won a quarter of their quad 1 games.
Well, that shows that you're buying stock in the ACC.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though, by you're putting a little bit too much into the conference.
Well, you don't think that's a fair way to assess these teams?
I don't know.
You don't think that it's fair to say that Miami at least has 3 quad 1 wins? Even if they have 9 quad 1 losses, they still have 3 quad 1 wins. So that carries a little bit more weight.
It shows you how much conferences matter at this point.
It does.
You're right.
Depending on what conference you're on, chooses whether or not if you make the tournament. And let's see the 4th team. Let's see the 4. 14-11. Ew. Number 40 ranking. 4-7 though in quad 1 games. So that's better than the Miami 3-9 that we saw.
Okay. I'm caught up on Miami. I don't know.
I'm going to say no to this.
I wonder if this team had COVID problems at some point in the season, and that might help explain why the 14-11 record doesn't look so good, because they're playing again a lot of quad 1 games, and they did better than Miami in that department. 4 wins compared to 3, 7 losses compared to 9. They're just as high up in the NET also. They're a top 40 team again.
I could also think this came in non-con play. They got a ton of wins early in the season, and when conference play rolled around, they started playing good teams. This could be an SEC team, I feel like.
I'm saying
That's possible.
I'm saying no
It's
tournament.
absolutely possible.
Based off of blind resume, I'm saying no tournament.
I'm going to say
I'd
no
love
as
to see
well.
what their conference record is also.
Don't
Let's
beat
see it.
DePaul. Don't beat
Let's
DePaul.
reveal it. Kentucky!
Wow.
So I got the SEC part right, but Kentucky's a next 4 out team.
Okay, I think
so
it makes
they've
sense.
got some work to do the rest of the season and the SEC. So those are our 4 women's bubble teams.
If you think that they're a tournament team, you kind of have to say that Miami's a tournament team also.
Yep.
Just because they're, again, middle of the pack in their conference. So if they really wanted to be one of the top teams, they would have fought their way there.
Yep. And
And to your point, really quickly, 3 postponed games and a canceled game right in the middle of the season.
Okay. Which definitely throws a wrench in some things.
Kentucky was 7-8 in the SEC this year.
That's considerably not that good.
It's not that good, no, especially when you play in a conference that's projected 9 tournament teams,
Well,
according to ESPN.
They've rattled off 5 wins in a row, and then they had just lost 4 in a row. So it's a game in a row.
These teams are wavy. These teams are very inconsistent.
Very
let's shift over
inconsistent.
to the men's side. Let's do the same thing. We're going to get on the screen a record. We're going to get a net ranking. And then we'll debate whether this team can make the bubble. So let's throw the first team up on the board. The men's blind resume, number 1, 15-11, 33rd ranking, 3-7 in Quad 1 games.
No.
You don't think so?
No, absolutely
No,
not.
I don't think so either.
I don't think that's
Absolutely
anywhere
not.
near good enough. Listen, the net ranking's not even real. Can we be real with that?
Can we be
the
real
net
with that?
ranking, Ken Palm. Show someone 25 years ago the net ranking, Ken Palm. They're looking at you like you got 4 heads.
15 and 11.
I don't think it's good enough. 3 and 7 in Quad 1, bad. I think the criteria for making the tournament has to be at least 500 in like a minimum of 6 Quad 1 games.
Yeah, this team.
5 quad.
This team suffered a lot of losses to a lot of top teams, and they probably should have won a couple more if they wanted to be.
It is
tournament
interesting
team.
with the net rankings because Houston is number 14 in the country right now, but they're 4th
Is this
in the
Michigan?
net rankings.
Is this Michigan? Can we see which team this is?
Sure, let's throw it out. Michigan!
There we go.
There we go.
It's Michigan.
There we go.
Yeah.
And Michigan's not a tournament team as it stands
I
right now.
100% agree with you.
They went they just went on the road and lost bad to Wisconsin.
They'd have to. Surely they wouldn't punch Joe Lunardi in the head or anything.
No. Of
They
course
throw
not.
one of those weird slap type of
Yeah,
things.
it was like one of those. I don't think they
mean-
should be in the tournament. But before the season started, I thought Hunter Dickinson was going to be the player of the year.
But
that really worked out well for me.
yeah, that seems to have. But losses to Wisconsin, Ohio State this year. This team isn't made for the tournament yet.
I agree
I'm
with you.
sorry if that's a slap in the face to the Michigan Wolverines.
I see what you did there. I see what you did.
I
The
know you see
Big
what I did
Ten's
right
a
there.
really tough conference, though,
100%.
to beat. Purdue.
Absolutely.
I personally have been.
Even what?
I've been thinking about Purdue. I'm not a big fan of Purdue. I think they're a bit overrated. Sorry to the Purdue fans out there. But I just don't know if they have. Yeah, shout out JMO.
The Fighting J-Mos.
I'm just not a fan. I love Jaden Ivey. But I think sometimes they don't look like the. I mean, Michigan beat them by 25 for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Michigan, when they're at their best, killed Purdue. And then you look at other teams in the conference, such as Wisconsin, Illinois, and Ohio State, even Rutgers. That I know they had a tough loss the other night, but they went on a stretch for a while where they were consistently beating top teams in the conference.
Talk about teams I don't believe in. Rutgers.
You don't like Rutgers?
No way.
All right.
Michigan also 4-7 away from home, so
Yeah, that's a.
seems like they need that home court advantage.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the second one. Who's the second team we've got in here? 20-8, number 41 in the ranking, 1-7 in Quad 1 games.
Whoa.
This is interesting.
That
I
is
feel like this might be
egregious.
a non-Power 5 school.
A non-Power 5 school with just a really tough non-conference schedule.
Yes.
So
Because
they-
to go 1-7 in Quad 1 games and still be in the top 45.
You would have to play like half of your non-conference schedule against
They're
quad
nine-
opponents.
they're 19-1.
I
in
believe I
non-Quad
found
1
which team it is.
Is it Loyola?
Give me a
Chicago?
drum roll.
I'm not looking. I'm
Give
not
me a
looking.
drum roll.
Is
Ready?
it Loyola Chicago?
Show me Dayton. Show it to me.
North Carolina. Wow. North Carolina currently in Joe Lunardi's last 4 byes.
Yeah. Oh.
So UNC still getting in the tourney.
Talk about
potentially.
It's weird because, you know, we're so used to having the big names. I mean, you look at the last 4 byes: Rutgers, Michigan, TCU, UNC, and then the last 4 in Loyola, Chicago, San Francisco, Indiana, and Memphis. The difference there is that you have 4 name brand basketball schools, and then 4 that are, I mean, obviously with the exception of Indiana, on the come up essentially, right? And so we're still doing the logo, the name brand bias here, I think. All Joe Lunardi has to do is take the logo away from North Carolina and call it, you know.
I mean, look at what we just did.
You just did that.
Yeah,
you just did that.
exactly.
Look at the resume.
You just did that.
I'm not buying it. I really don't put any stock in them. I'd be surprised if they made the tournament. I think so many other teams are playing so well right now.
I mean, the difference in North Carolina's season is that the defense hasn't been nearly as good as the offense has played. Because, I mean, looking at the stats, North Carolina has 2 guys averaging above 15 points per game, 2 other guys averaging above 13 points per game. This is the 3rd best team in the ACC as far as offense is concerned, and then 3rd worst on the defensive side of things. The Kentucky loss was bad. The Duke loss was bad.
Horrible.
These are teams that people are projecting to be in the championship game, like playing for a national title, fighting for a Final Four spot. So, again, pull your weight against these teams, and there won't be a problem with it, but they haven't.
And you talk about the teams that they lost to who are supposed to be in the national championship. They've also, over the last month or so, lost to teams that aren't even supposed to make the tournament. I mean, a couple weeks ago, they lost to Pittsburgh by 9. They lost to Clemson recently. They've had such an inconsistent year.
At Louisville was one. They came out with the win, but that was one of their hardest. It seemed like it, at least. They were tested more than they had been by plenty of other teams that they've played this season. On the road at Louisville, with all the things surrounding Louisville this season, it's been a very bad season for them. They haven't played well on the road, haven't played well at home, haven't played well against top teams in that conference, and UNC made them look like a competitive team.
Yeah. And I wonder if part of it, to wrap up, is because Roy Williams is not under the helm anymore. And I wonder if that's going to be maybe the case with Duke if they struggle a bit next season without Coach K.
You could see it
We'll
happening.
see. Let's see number 3. Let's see number 3 on the board. 20-6, number 45 in the rankings. 2-1 though in quad 1 win. I feel like we haven't seen too many teams over 500 in those quad 1 games.
No.
Well, we get it here.
This is definitely a non-conference team.
Yeah, I agree.
This is definitely a non-conference
Is this one Dayton?
team.
No.
Spencer?
This one is got to be Smoo.
It's got to be smooth.
Show me Smoo!
There we go.
There we
Let's
go.
go.
What were we
That's
talking
great.
about last night? I said Smoo should be in the tournament.
You're right. We're still waiting for Oregon. Joe Lunardi's first team out, though. He doesn't have Smoo in the tournament at the moment, but they've got a little work to do to get up there. I'm sure conference tournament play will help them out a little bit.
Well, if we're going to grade them fairly, we've put a lot of teams down in this segment for having bad records against quad 1 opponents. And SMU is one of the only teams that we've seen so far with an above 500 record in that category.
That's very true. That's very true.
And it's not like, they've had a horrible season. They lost 3 conference games. The last one was, when was that?
Long time. Maybe.
Yeah, it's not going to tell me, of course. Oh, February 16th. We're almost in March, for crying out loud, right? So they're getting hot at the right time. They're beating teams like Memphis, and we know Memphis isn't what we really thought they were going to be all these years, but they beat Houston. Anytime you can beat Houston, the top dog in your
Great
conference,
win. That's a great win.
you're gonna have a good season. And their top scorer, Kendrick Davis, is averaging almost 20 points a game. So the points, the shooting, that comes in March Madness. It's not going to just disappear all of a sudden.
100%.
And I think if somehow Houston can get bounced out of the American tournament, it's all SMU. SMU could have a clear path to the championship and seal a victory in the championship game, and they're in the tournament, which is really interesting because Houston's been the dog there. They're projected to be a 3 seed, but if you put Houston out of the picture, SMU, their chances to get to the tournament are through the roof.
I mean, listen, SMU could see Houston again in the tournament. If they're lucky enough, if SMU's lucky enough to run into Houston again, and I say lucky enough because playing in that game and playing well in that game,
it does more
really
for
solidify your resume.
Right.
And I'm interested to see where SMU would be exactly in the tournament too. I don't know. I feel like they'd be around that 7-8 range.
Yeah.
I have a feeling because yes, they're near the top of the American, but
they might get a play-in.
It's the American. That's true. For an 11 spot
see.
or a 6 seed. Let's get the final one up there. We've got one more. 16-10. Number 67 in the net rankings. 2-4 in
Oregon?
quad 1 victory. Is this Oregon?
Is this not Oregon?
This might be Oregon.
It has to be.
55 seconds. Let's go. Give me some, Steven.
I can't.
Wow, those are
I can't reach.
most horribly coordinated high fives ever.
But I mean, Oregon. I mean, last night that was it for me. I mean, they're in the tournament after that. They're in the tournament after beating UCLA last night. That's all I needed.
This is bad though because they pulled up the graphic with their record and all the numbers, and I immediately said no.
Oh, in my head, I said absolutely.
I said
not.
no.
I said no chance.
I said 2-4 in quad 1 wins. Number 67.
okay.
Number 67. No way. But then I saw Oregon and I was like, yes, go Ducks,
Give me
baby.
Dana Altman in the tournament. And by the way, quack.
Quack quack quack. I'm sad. I'm sad.
Are you gonna quack? Quack.
I'm sad we didn't get any of that Beaver action. The Oregon State Beavers. Throw back to last year when they made the Elite 8.
No, I'm not doing that.
Come on.
Please do this, Steven.
no.
Steven, do it. Yes, sir. Oregon State. They're not making it. They're 3-23.
That's okay.
Well, Oregon.
Yeah, well, they're a covering machine apparently.
Oregon. You have to dissect their season into two parts because the beginning of the season they had losses. They beat SMU actually, which we just said was a tournament team.
That was the second game of the year.
Right, and then in the third game of the year, they lost to BYU. A couple of games later, they lost to Houston. A little bit further down the line, they lost to Baylor, but kept it within single digits. And then as they started this tear through the Pac-12, their only losses are to Colorado, Cal, Arizona State, and Arizona. And
By 3, by the way.
Yeah, Arizona is only, at Arizona, too, it's only a 3-point loss.
That's a tough place to play,
Then
too.
They beat
at
UCLA
Arizona.
last night, and then
Did that earlier in the season also.
They're 2-0 against
and
UCLA
they're playing
this year.
USC their next game.
Who they've already also beaten.
I think they did. Yeah, I love this. I think they did the exact same thing when they beat UCLA that first time because they played UCLA and USC within like 72 hours, and they beat both of them.
UCLA in that game was ranked third.
Right, I was just gonna
USC
say
in the
that.
game after was ranked fifth. So that's 2 top 5 wins.
Los Angeles versus Eugene is like a great battle against one another.
Apparently not. It seems to be pretty one-sided.
Why would you say it? Oh, you're right.
Oregon's
You're right,
tearing
actually.
through Los Angeles.
Who would have thought? You got USC and UCLA.
City of Angels is in shambles right now.
All
Thanks
to
to
a
the
duck.
Oregon Ducks. Thanks to the
Quack,
Oregon
quack.
Ducks.
Just do push-ups on the sideline.
That's awesome. Before we wrap up, I do want to ask you guys one more question.
Okay.
Sure.
We probably won't be together here on the podcast before April,
know where this
early
is going.
April starts.
Okay.
Oh no.
I need some national championship picks. I want to know who will be playing each other in the national championship and who will come out on top.
Well, if we can only be so lucky as to see Duke and Kentucky on opposite sides of the bracket, and I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that as my national championship game.
That'd be a fun game.
It sounds like probably the worst possible scenario ever.
Okay, so give me your team.
That sounds horrible. All right. I have no idea. Last year I picked BYU to make the Final Four.
So you're not good at making picks, is what you're saying.
That's simply not true. I've won my March Madness tournament the last 3 years.
Oh, Mazel
What do you know?
tov, Mazel tov.
Happy Baylor last year.
Yes, sir. Go Bears.
I don't know if I can just make an outright prediction right now. Kentucky is unbelievably hot. You know, Oscar Tshiebwe is a buzzsaw. If he gets into someone's body in the tournament, he's going to have 48,000 rebounds throughout the entire thing. I think the 1 seeds are going to go down early this year.
You do.
I do. Gonzaga, it's the same story every year. I think, are they going to make the championship? They might. It's the same thing with them every year, and you can't pick them, but you can because they're Gonzaga, right?
Gonzaga has a top 5 coach, though, of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
And a top 5 player
people
of
on
all
the
time
street
in-
are saying,
in
right?
Chet Holm-
And Arizona and
unicorn.
Auburn, you like the way that they're playing, but I don't know if it's sustainable for the rest of the year. It definitely depends on who those 8-9s are coming out of that. And then we obviously leave the best for last, Kansas. As a Kansas fan, I've seen so much heartbreak that I'm not even going to predict them to make it out of the first round
see,
against projected Cleveland State right now. Shout out Fighting Norris Coles.
If Kansas wears those jerseys that they wore against Kansas State,
the
flower jerseys for the rest of the season, they're my national championship.
They've been pulling out all the threads lately. They've been going through the wardrobe and getting every single. They putting everything out.
Oh, man. So no prediction for me because I'm boring, but my prediction will be that the 1 seeds are going to take it down early.
Okay.
Can we all agree that the Big Ten is just a little bit overrated?
Every
bit
year.
overrated.
Every year.
As it is every year. Illinois is not going anywhere. Wisconsin's not going anywhere. Great season out of Johnny Davis, but Wisconsin's not going to go anywhere.
All right. Well, when Oregon State wins the Pac-12 tournament, they can play Oregon in the national championship. How about that?
That's fair. I like that. I'll make my pick quick. Duke will lose to the Arizona Wildcats.
Okay.
For one reason. Benedict Mathurin.
my
Yes,
God.
sir. Benedict Mathurin. The greatest player in college basketball this season. All right, that's going to wrap up the No Pulp podcast. That was fun, boys.
Absolutely.
March Madness is right around the corner. It is exciting, though. For Nick Zelaya and Spencer Pierce, Steven Sklar, have a great weekend, everybody.